Good morning. I'm trying to tell you this story from Canada. It's tough. I wanted to talk about this story yesterday, but then Dan Andrews resigned as the Premier of Victoria in Australia. And I do one video every day. I have other things to do, right? So now I've been trying to tell you this story. When I first heard about this thing from Canada, I said, no, this can't be. It's impossible. But it's true. It's all true. And this story will get the prize. Some sort of prize, I don't know what. The story of the decade, or something. It deserves a nice prize, this story. So I'll try again now to tell you this story, right? So this is the Canadian Parliament, and the Speaker of the House, Anthony Rutta, he introduced this old man to the Parliament. The old man's name was Jaroslav Hunka, and he's 98 years old. And the Speaker of the House, Anthony, he said something like, oh, this guy, you know what? He's 98 years old and he fought the Russians. It's ridiculous. He was fighting the Russians during World War II. That's what he said. And the Parliament, they gave this guy a standing ovation. I think he got two of them, actually. So they stood up. The whole Parliament of Canada stood up and clapped. Wow, what a great guy. He was fighting the Russians during World War II. Wow, what a fantastic freedom fighter. You understand why I didn't believe this story, don't you? Right. And then, of course, people started to look into this. I don't know what happened in the Parliament. There must be somebody in the Parliament of Canada who said, why are we clapping? Didn't he say that he was fighting the Russians in the World War? Yeah, but we're clapping, So anyway, so people started to look into this guy. Who is this guy? Jaroslav Hunka. This freedom fighter who was fighting the Russians. And of course they found that this guy was a member of Waffen-SS. It's true. Right. The Jews, for instance, the Jews in Canada, they said, hey, listen, why are you clapping? No. Why are you celebrating this guy? He's a Nazi. This story is priceless. And then Anthony Rutta, the Speaker of the House, he came out and apologized. And he said, it was all me. He said, I did this. I take the blame for all this. And then he resigned. And I listened to Justin Trudeau. He said, well, this was very embarrassing. This was a mistake. And then he went on to blame the Russians. Actually, he did. He talked about this mistake that happened, this totally embarrassing thing. He said, yes, it's embarrassing for the Parliament and for the Canadians. He said, what a clown this guy is. But then he went on to talk about the Russians and Russian disinformation. Wow, what a thing. So nobody reacted. I don't get it, In the Parliament, and this Speaker of the House said, this guy was fighting the Russians in World War II. He's a freedom fighter. Nobody raised their hand, or, something, and said, hang on a minute, what did you just say? He was fighting the Russians in the World War II. Well, who were fighting the Russians? Well, it was the Nazis, They were fighting the Russians in World War II. Nobody said this. In this whole big place, all these MPs standing there, clapping, right? Well, this is, I don't know, it's beyond embarrassing. I just can't understand this, The truth is, sometimes the truth, I think so, the truth is hard sometimes. When you ask the question why, and it's just too hard, and people will not believe it because the answer is just unreal. It's so unreal that people they will not buy it. And we saw it, of course, during the last 3 years. Usually when you ask the question why, you can explain something and people will understand, right? You say, the car isn't running. Why? Well, there's no gas. And people will understand it, right? But when you start to ask questions about what's going on now, the answer to the question why is just so unreal. Like this thing, why are people in the Canadian Parliament giving this Nazi a standing ovation? And you ask the question, why? And the answer is probably so unreal that people in general, the average man, he will not buy it. I don't know the answer to this question, but I'm asking it. Why are they giving this guy a standing ovation? These big questions we have right now, the answer to these questions are just unreal to most people. Like, why are they forcing people to wear a mask if they knew that it didn't work? The answer to this question is unreal to most people. And they will not buy it, Oh, just my thought. This thing that happened in Canada was just amazing. Now this guy resigned, Anthony Rota, the Speaker of the House. I would love to see Trudeau resigning. You see, we have this trend going. Jacinda Ardern resigned. Dan Andrews resigned. Nicola Sturgeon resigned. These total clowns, evil clowns. And I want to see him resign very quickly. Maybe this is the thing. Maybe this will be too much. I don't know. This guy seems like untouchable. Justin Trudeau. He's still there. It's a mystery to me. What do you think? Okay. Be good.